So, everybody knows Star Wars, right? We know the text crawl, we know the light side, we know the dark side, and we definitely for damn sure know about the lightsabers. But apparently this love for George Lucas's and Disney's work isn't just contained within their own franchise, as numerous films have provided nods, references, Easter eggs, and just full-on cameos from the Star Wars universe. And that's what we're here to talk about today, as I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are the 10 best times Star Wars appeared in other movies. Number 10. X-Men. The original X-Men movie hit cinemas in 2000, 1 year after Star Wars' long-awaited return in the form of The Phantom Menace. As such, the timing couldn't have been better for X-Men to sneak in a Star Wars reference somewhere, and during the final battle between Halle Berry's Storm and Ray Park's Toad, well, that's exactly what happened. Park had just played Sith apprentice Darth Maul in The Phantom Menace, a character whose insane lightsaber skills allowed him to battle Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi, who are obviously two trained Jedi, at the same time and come out on top. Well, almost. Jumping back to X-Men though, Park paid homage to those lightsaber skills in that aforementioned fight against Storm by twirling his weapon around in a very Maul-esque way shortly after kicking the weather-manipulating heroine down an elevator shaft. Park is known for the great physicality he brings to his characters, and this moment worked out not only as a cool tip of the hat to Maul, but as a way to make Toad feel even more skilled in the combat department. Number 9. Superbad. Raunchy teen comedy Superbad isn't exactly somewhere you would expect Star Wars to appear, but the movie does have a couple of hilarious nods to the sci-fi franchise throughout its runtime. These mostly come from Seth Rogen and Bill Hader's buddy cop duo, who frequently mention Star Wars after picking up McLovin from the convenience store. During their subsequent car journey, these cops, Slater and Michaels, start talking about Attack of the Clones, with Slater saying that the Force is strong with his rookie partner, before breaking out into a surprisingly convincing Yoda impression and calling Michaels his Padawan. Later, Slater and Michaels start using their torches like lightsabers, battling one another while adding their own sound effects. Slater then pulls out a Palpatine impression from his repertoire before proceeding to run down Jonah Hill's character with his car, which if you think about it is a pretty fittingly evil act for a dastardly Sith Lord. Star Wars humor may be a cheap way to draw a laugh, but Superbad executes these jokes so well that we can't really complain. Number 8. Indiana Jones. With both franchises having George Lucas as a creative spearhead, it would be a genuine shock if the Indiana Jones movies didn't pay homage to Star Wars in some small way, but fortunately, they do. The most famous of these homages is found in Raiders of the Lost Ark, with a pair of R2-D2 and C-3PO hieroglyphs appearing next to Indy when he uncovers the Ark of the Covenant. There's another lesser-known nod at the start of the movie as well, with the text OBCPO emblazoned on the side of Jock's airplane at the end of the opening sequence, a shout out to Obi-Wan Kenobi and C-3PO. Temple of Doom continued to dish out the Star Wars goodness with the club that Willie sings in at the beginning called Club Obi-Wan, while the sound effect used for the crashing plane's engine failure is the same sound heard in The Empire Strikes Back when the Millennium Falcon's hyperdrive fails. And finally, while The Last Crusade is surprisingly light on Star Wars nods, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull has Indy utter the iconic line, "I've got a bad feeling about this," which has been spoken in almost every single Star Wars flick to date. Number 7. Toy Story. Going all the way back to the first Toy Story movie, it's been something of a trend for Pixar to include Star Wars nods in its movies. Some of the best of these include the Dash forest chase in The Incredibles harking back to Return of the Jedi speeder bike chase, or the fighter pilot dogs in Up referring to themselves as Grey Leader, Grey 2 and Grey 3, parodying the Red Squadron call sign in A New Hope. But it's the Star Wars references in the Toy Story series that people will remember most fondly. From Dick Bag neighbor Sid interrogating Woody with the "Where's the rebel base?" to an Obi-Wan action figure in Toy Story 4, to the fact that Emperor Zurg is a clear riff of Darth Vader, there's a small piece of Star Wars in all 4 movies, some obvious and some less so. Zurg telling Buzz, "I am your father," and Buzz yelling, "No!" is one of the funniest Easter eggs in movie history, inadvertently foreshadowing Vader's own pain scream in Revenge of the Sith 6 years later. Pixar and Star Wars actually have a shared history, with George Lucas himself proving an instrumental player in the studio's formative years. This in mind, it's almost like these Star Wars nods are a neat way for Pixar to honor its own past. Number 6. Star Trek 2009. Star Wars and Star Trek have been closely intertwined for decades, with George Lucas once stating that Star Wars wouldn't exist if Star Trek hadn't softened up the entertainment arena. and original Star Wars producer Gary Kurtz revealing that Trek was a big influence on Lucas when creating his own space set franchise. However, by the time lifelong Star Wars fans, J.J. Abrams and Damon Lindelof, were handed the keys to the Trek franchise for the 2009 movie reboot, the order of influence had changed, with Trek now drawing from the Star Wars movies that those two creatives had grown up revering. Not only were two scenes in Star Trek 2009, aka young Kirk staring at the under-construction Enterprise and old Spock saving Kirk from a monster, intended to echo two scenes from the original Star Wars films, where Luke stares at the binary sunset and Obi-Wan stops the Tusken Raiders from attacking Luke, but also a small piece of Star Wars also appears in the movie physically, or at least digitally, but you catch our drift. This appearance comes in the form of none other than R2-D2, who can be seen floating through the wreckage of several Starfleet ships after the Enterprise emerges from the warp. R2 also pops up in the sequel Star Trek Into Darkness in a similar manner, because apparently appearing in the vast majority of Star Wars movies just wasn't enough for this attention-seeking droid. Number 5. Captain America Civil War. With Marvel Studios' Kingpin Big Kev being such a huge fan of Star Wars, it's little surprise that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is littered with nods to the empire that Lucas built. Many movies in the franchise include a scene where a character loses a limb, such as Thor's arm being lopped off in Thor: The Dark World, all of which were intended as a wink to Vader chopping off Luke Skywalker's arm in The Empire Strikes Back. Ongoing gags aside though, arguably the best singular Star Wars reference in the MCU is delivered by Spider-Man in Captain America Civil War, who uses his knowledge of the sci-fi franchise to help Team Tony take down Giant Man. Asking his fellow Avengers if they've ever seen that really old movie, The Empire Strikes Back, Spidey proceeds to reference the scene where the rebels use a cable to topple an AT-AT on Hoth, before using the same technique on Giant Man. Civil War was chock full of crowd-pleasing moments, but the pop in the theater when Spidey mentions Star Wars was one of the biggest of the lot. Number 4. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Ferris Bueller's Day Off is one of the most rewatchable movies ever and can effortlessly put a smile on your face whenever you sit down for another viewing. It's also a treat for Star Wars fans, with one of the most memorable moments of the movie featuring a hysterical nod to the franchise's famous music. The moment in question sees two parking attendants going for a joyride in Cameron's dad's Ferrari. Soaring through the air in slow motion, their epic leap is scored with John Williams' main Star Wars theme tune, which then carries on playing as they hit the ground and drive off into the distance. It's among the most iconic moments in any John Hughes movie, which is saying something considering the guy's incredible filmography, primarily because John Williams' music makes everything it touches 1,000 times better. Number 3. The Lego Movie. The Lego Movie was an absolute dream for pop culture enthusiasts, with famous faces like Batman, Gandalf, Wonder Woman, Superman, Dumbledore, and even Shaquille O'Neal appearing throughout its runtime. The Star Wars gang also gets some cameo action, with the Millennium Falcon interrupting Batman when he talks about obtaining a hyperdrive, musing aloud, "What do you think, a spaceship is just going to appear out of the blue?" Well, Batsy, yes, that's exactly what happens. The Falcon parks up as the Star Wars theme plays before Han Solo, Lando, Chewbacca, and C-3PO emerge from various compartments of the ship, talking about a sweet party on Naboo that they were supposed to be attending. Though Harrison Ford didn't return to voice Han, Billy D. Williams and Anthony Daniels did return for Lando and C-3PO respectively, adding a layer of extra awesomeness to the scene. Also awesome is watching Lando talking to Batman, which is almost too much cool for a single screen to handle. Things don't end well for the Star Wars crew though when Batman steals the hyperdrive and they're eaten by a space slug, but they certainly gave audiences a memorable time in their brief trip across the Lego multiverse. Number 2. E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Steven Spielberg and George Lucas have been the best of buds for decades, even going back to before they collaborated on Indiana Jones. In the 70s, the pair even traded back-end points on Close Encounters of the Third Kind and Star Wars, with Lucas believing that Spielberg's sci-fi classic would be by far the biggest hit. Needless to say, Spielberg emerged from that gamble with heavier pockets. With Star Wars proving to be such a smash hit in 1977, Spielberg decided to pay homage to the franchise in his 1982 flick E.T. the Extraterrestrial, with a few different references dotted throughout. At one point, we see a child walking down the street in a Yoda costume, which is accompanied by the same Yoda musical cue heard in The Empire Strikes Back. Elsewhere, the lead character Elliot's bedroom is stuffed with Star Wars action figures, including Boba Fett, Greedo, and Lando, and right before Elliot introduces him to E.T., his older brother Michael mocks him by doing a Yoda impression. Brilliantly, Lucas would later return the gesture with a few members of E.T.'s species appearing on Coruscant in The Phantom Menace. It's a small universe after all, isn't it? And number 1, Free Guy. Free Guy was one of those movies that felt like it had Easter eggs hidden in every frame, so it really wasn't a surprise that Star Wars made the cut. During the climactic battle between Ryan Reynolds' hero Guy and his ridiculously buff adversary Dude, Guy is completely outmatched physically, forcing him to call in a bit of help from some iconic pop culture weapons. Captain America's shield is first up, followed by a Hulk fist and then, you guessed it, a lightsaber, which Guy uses with a level of skill that would give Vader a run for his money. Made possible by Disney's acquisition of Star Wars and Free Guy's distributor 20th Century Fox, these references were implemented after Reynolds, along with director Sean Levy, wrote to Disney and asked for permission. Obviously, the studio said yes, and we are glad they did. Guy using a lightsaber while John Williams' Star Wars score plays made for one of the best movie theater moments of 2021. He's hoping for something just as good in Free Guy's upcoming sequel. Although, to be fair, that's going to be tough to beat. And there we go, my friends. Those were 10 of the best times that Star Wars appeared in other movies. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. As always, I've been Jules, so you can go follow me over on Twitter at RetroJ, or you can swing by Live and Let's Dice, where I do all of my streaming outside of work, and it'd be great to see you over there. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. Hope you're treating yourself with love and respect, my friends, because you deserve all of the best things in life, alright? And don't go beating yourself up for mistakes that you made in the past. We all make them. We are all human. And if you have the capacity to forgive those that have done you wrong in the past, then I urge you to do so, because holding on to hatred and resentment, it's not good for anyone in the long run. Big love to you, my friend. Now go out there and smash it, you massive ledge. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.